Do you suck at controller? Fortnite has been around for almost 7 years, and if you're still struggling to master the game on controller, you're not alone. In today's video, I'm going to be going into depth with some unique tips that no other person will tell you to help you improve quickly on controller in Fortnite. Now before we begin, you can check out my 1-month controller progression video right here, as I've just switched over from keyboard and mouse to try and learn controller. So in this video, I'm going to be going through some tips and strategies that I've taken into consideration when making the switch to controller. Now with all of that being said, let's get straight into the first tip to help you improve. Most players in Fortnite generally play pretty casually, so if you want to make it out of the bracket of being a casual Fortnite player, then you'll need to play how a pro player does. Now this doesn't mean getting a whole high-end PC setup with expensive aim training programs, but what I mean is to practice and play like a pro player. This will mean you'll need to be playing much more of the competitive side of Fortnite by playing ranked and competitive practice maps such as realistic zone wars. I know getting easy crown wins with the boys is fun and all, but half the time, lobbies in pub games are actually just filled with bots, and the rest of the lobbies are just players of your skill level. By going up against players who are better than you, it will increasingly help you improve your game sense and to much better understand how to fight players. This leads me on to the next tip to help you improve on controller. Versing players who are better than you at the game. I've always said this and I always will, but you will not improve at the game if you're always versing little Timmy who's literally just playing on a toaster with 1000 ping. You need to be playing against good players so you can learn from them. When I started playing controller, I only played against my friends and other opponents who were much better than me at the game at the time, so I could learn from my mistakes and much better understand what they were doing to beat me, so I could apply that in my own gameplay and beat them instead. The next tip is watching pro players. Trust me, this is such an underrated thing that not many people will tell you to do, and it will definitely help you improve at Fortnite. Watching pro players is so important so you can use their way of playing and learn from it. Once you start watching pros on a regular basis, you'll actually begin to understand when and how they decide to take fights in-game. You'll realize techniques and playstyles that each individual pro will use to outplay their opponents that they go against. I highly recommend watching some controller pros. Some really good controller pros that I definitely recommend you check out include Meru, G-Money, Moneymaker, obviously if you can stand listening to him, 200! And Reet. But of course there's a lot of other pros that I can mention, but these are just a few names that you need to check out and learn from, because I guarantee once you watch their skills and learn from how they play the game, you'll improve so much more as you'll be able to apply it into your own gameplay. Trust me, I did this when learning controller, and I'm even starting to use some of the moves that these controller pros use in-game. Obviously you don't have to always watch them, but watching them now and then will definitely help you improve. Now this next tip is another extremely underrated tip that I guarantee almost no one will tell you, but it is to stretch. This sounds really weird, and now I don't mean a full body yoga workout session or anything, but I mean just stretching your hands and fingers before you warm up or during your warm up session when playing Fortnite. This is such a key aspect of improving in Fortnite, as it will allow your hands to be a lot more free and much less stiff when you play the game. I mentioned this in my last tips video, but it's so important and underrated I had to mention it again in this video. I guarantee at some point you've had one of those moments when it's a really cold day and your fingers are so stiff and not warmed up because of how cold it is, and you literally can't play the game. So just by spending a little bit of time before you play, stretching your fingers and hands, you'll play so much better, and it will definitely help you improve at the game. Now, some of you might not have the option to choose what controller or console you play on, as these days they're pretty expensive. But if you do, I highly recommend finding the right controller and console for you. Controllers range in size and feel depending on what you get. Personally, I've always felt more comfortable playing on an Xbox controller, and I recently purchased an Xbox Elite controller, which once again is very different to the standard Xbox controller, as it has paddles on the back, which I'm able to use to bind different things to the paddles to make it more optimal for playing. Once you find the right controller that's comfortable for you, you'll improve in no time. And in terms of getting a console, it doesn't really matter what you get. It's totally up to you and your budget. Making a switch to PC, even by plugging your controller into it, will make you improve so much more as well, because you'll generally have a lot higher FPS and much less input delay, which of course will help you improve. So it's totally up to you and your budget, but once you find the right controller and console for yourself, it'll make it so much better and easier for you to improve. This next tip is really important that does take a while to learn, but you definitely want to consider doing it when playing Fortnite. Learning to stay calm during fights in Fortnite is such an important aspect of improving. I'm sure we've all had those moments where we're literally shivering in fear about getting that solo win or even just clutching up a fight. When you're nervous during a fight, you'll definitely not play well whatsoever. What you want to do is work on becoming much more confident during fights. Even if you play really confident, you still may get eliminated, but try your best to play as if the player is much worse than you that you're fighting. Make sure you're thinking about your moves that you're going to do to try and outplay the opponent that you're versing. To try and get over the fear of versing good players or difficult and scary situations in Fortnite, you need to put yourself in these situations so you can get better at them. I know this doesn't sound like a great idea, but trust me, you'll improve so much faster. Even if you lose a few more games than you expect, it's so important to help you get better at the game and feel comfortable in every situation you get in a Fortnite game. Now, this tip might sound a little bit cringe and useless, but let me tell you, setting goals for what you want to be able to achieve in terms of your skill in Fortnite is a really good way to focus on improving in certain aspects in the game. For example, I really wanted to learn how to triple edit consistently on controller in Fortnite, so I set myself 2 days to try and learn it and simply just focus on that, and now I can triple edit pretty easily. As you can see right here, I literally just spammed triple edit practicing until I got it pretty comfortably. So make sure you set a goal, even if it's really small, and make sure you stick to it. And once you've completed that goal in your set amount of time, find a new goal to work on and practice that until you've mastered it. And when you consistently set goals for yourself in game, you'll become a pro controller player in no time. Trust me, do this and you'll improve so fast. Fortnite is always having new updates where they release new weapons and items. This is one of the best times to find new metas with each of the different weapons and items that get added during these updates. What you want to do when these updates come out with new items is look for new metas and mechanics to work on to outplay your opponents. This can either involve looking at metas and exploits other players have found with these items, or even trying to find your own ways to use these new items. It's such an underrated and important thing that not many people think about when new weapons and items are released into Fortnite. You definitely want to be using these new items in any way possible to outplay your opponents, and also finding situations that you don't want to use these items in. For example, the new Thunderbolt of Zeus item is really great for breaking through builds and eliminating players with ease, but you can also be eliminated very easily while using it as you're in the open all the time. So players found that you can use the green skulls from the green water to dash while using the Thunderbolt item, making it almost impossible to get shot at from opponents during it. So try your best to find ways to exploit and use the new items to your advantage. A great way to improve on controller is finding the right grip that suits you. There are many different ways to hold a controller that give you different benefits and allow you to play in a certain way. Of course, there's standard grip, which most players use, claw grip, which allows you to keep your hands on the joysticks at all times, so you can have much smoother movement while also using your other fingers to click buttons, which makes it a lot more optimal for your gameplay once you learn it. And there's also other grips like octopus claw, which is pretty crazy as you can see, and personally, I just stick to normal grip or claw grip. You can also get controllers with paddles where you can keep the standard grip while being able to click buttons much more easily in a more optimal way, which is how I play. Paddles are pretty much an easier alternative to claw grip, so I highly recommend getting a controller with paddles. Once again, this is personal preference, and you still can get good with normal grip, but by testing different grips and find what works for you best is a great way to improve. This wraps up a few tips that I highly recommend you take into consideration when trying to improve on controller in Fortnite. If any of these tips helped you out in any way, please let me know in the comments, and consider liking and subscribing to help support the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.